Welcome back to Technobabble Podcast. This is episode 61, our games of the decade and such. Welcome back for another Technobabble. We're back at it again. Dan?
Hello.
Is here. You've returned?
I've returned from the plague ward.
From the plague ward?
Yeah.
But still plagued?
A little bit. You can probably hear my voice. I don't know if you can just hear it coming through the system or not, but a little nasally. Better than it was yesterday.
Yeah.
So I apologize in advance if I have to cough.
That's all right. We all got to do that every once in a while.
Yeah. So I guess this won't be a typical podcast, but we should probably mention that right off the bat.
No, I was going to get to that.
As I jump in and take over your hosting duty. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Every year we do sort of look back at the gaming of the past year, but to be completely honest, we didn't play enough games last year.
Yeah, that came up. We're trying to make a list for 2019. We're like, I played like 2 games.
Yeah.
So there's going to be 2 games on this list.
We thought, wait, everybody's doing decade things this year.
So
because
why not
it's the end of a decade.
Because we do nothing original here on the...
Nothing original. We copy everyone else.
Yeah.
So we thought we'll do that. So we're going to do games of the decade as sort of a theme, and we'll talk about that and such and nonsense.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of nonsense. So
a lot of nonsense.
If you're here for the tech talk, you might want to wait till next podcast.
It'll be the next podcast. We know we're quite aware CES is happening.
To be honest, though, we can start out with a little... It's boring this year.
It's dead. It's become a car and gaming show.
Yeah, there's a lot of cars.
Along with AMD announcements. That's about...
So we start off with a nice... what did you think of the Sony electric car?
Don't care.
Awesome.
Yep.
Does it have a PlayStation built in? I don't care if it doesn't.
I don't even care. I just... CES is supposed to be about consumer electronics and how electronics are pushing boundaries. And like, for instance, one of the reports was on a fridge that you can grow herbs in. Why would you grow herbs in a fridge to start? What's the point?
Herbs. Like
we're talking parsley and stuff like that.
Oh, herbs for your food.
Well, you do that in your window. Why would you do that in a fridge that's not designed to do that at all?
I don't know. It's strange.
Fridges are there to keep things cool.
I don't know. Maybe it's cool.
We
don't know much about farming.
It's going to be something that never comes out. It's the same as that fabled fridge that comes or whatever comes out every year that has the inventory tracking thing that'll order new food for you all the time. We don't even have stores that take proper orders yet. We do have them, but they don't exist.
It's
everywhere.
A little early here. It's better in the States.
And they don't ship to your house. You still got to go pick it up usually.
Yeah, which is still better than shopping yourself.
No, but it's still that what's the point of the fridge? The thing I think they did actually come up with one
for Americans.
Yeah, but that's still not a thing everywhere. Delivery. But it's anyway.
We're in the dark ages here.
We had announcements from lots of electric car companies.
See, CES wasn't supposed to be a car show. I don't really care. I'm not a car. You're more of a car person than I am. Mm-hmm. I'm not a car person at all, and so I want to see PC tech, man.
Well, I'm tired of seeing cars as tech.
Yeah,
I mean, I get there's a lot of tech in them.
Yeah,
but I don't. CES is like a place for appliances and some computer hardware. Not a lot of it, but some. Of it.
That's what I pay attention for.
To me, a car is not an appliance. It is a mode of transportation to get you somewhere.
But they are merging. I understand that. It's just
they shouldn't be, but they are because that's how people think of them as appliances. That's why everybody's so excited about self-driving bullshit. Excuse me.
Hey, self-driving is awesome. If I don't have to drive, why not? That's great. I can just sit there and play video games. Play Switch in the back seat.
Remember 5 years ago when they said every car would be self-driving by now?
Yeah, well.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
See? That's why I'm upset, because it's already too late.
Stop making promises.
Yeah.
Stop making promises.
You've disappointed me, car industry, for the last time. Anyway,
I don't trust a computer taking me anywhere.
That's a couple of old men yelling at technology.
No, I think it's realistic.
Well, it is realistic. We're old men. Yeah. But there was some. We got some AMD news and some Intel disappointment and controversy. So, typical for the modern era. 2020 starts off with a bang.
Intel continues their trend of disappointing everyone.
I was actually going to put that on my disappointment list, Intel. But
Intel, disappointment. Anyway. Just disappointment.
All right, so we said we were going to talk about that, and we did.
Did.
Preamble aside, after we yelled and showed our
Oh,
age.
and there's lots of sort of
well, there's
like
more. Hold on.
gaming, handheld gaming devices released, and they're announced there as well.
That's true. There was some of that, yeah.
There's
cool.
also a really cool console you can plug all of your little Game Boy games into, and play it on your TV. So that's cool.
Cool. See,
anyway,
there is interesting stuff to talk about.
Why isn't that at
next time.
E3 though? Why are they doing that at CES?
Because E3
should
sucks.
be there. I know E3 is dead. We know that. It's
I
just
used to love E3.
why did this change? Anyway, we should talk about 2019, and we should First, we'll talk about 2019.
First, we'll talk about
That's what we'll do.
That'll be a brief one. We'll move on to decade.
All right. I almost
2010s.
think we shouldn't have shown each other the answers because it would have been more fun. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah,
But,
probably. We wanted it
anyway.
in one spot, so I don't really remember what you put anyways. But
well, there you go. That's good. All right. Most disappointing game of the year for you, Dan.
yes,
Go.
why don't we start out with being really cynical and why 2019 disappointed us? Because that's where we start out, because we're angry old men. This point is being driven
Well,
home.
I'm certainly angry and old and fat. So it's
All of those things.
They all combine
All
to
the
create an angry man. I don't know.
Angry old fat man.
Yeah.
Woo,
they
that's
all
me.
combine to become the exact same thing I just said.
We should change our name of our podcast to Two Angry Old Fat Men.
That's actually a really good idea. To
There
be
we
honest.
go.
But
It's probably taken. But
two angry old fat men in love with technology.
to a point.
Yes.
Okay, so my most disappointing game, which is probably not a surprise to anyone who listens to any of our podcasts this year, or at least the end parts where we talked about games, was Anthem from
was
BioWare.
that this year?
That was this year.
For
at
some
the
reason, I
beginning.
think I felt like it was last year because the whole saga dragged on.
It was a whole thing. It was very disappointing in development and even more disappointing in practice. It's kind of the nail in the coffin for me trusting BioWare with anything because it was garbage. The only saving grace here was that, and I know you're against this, but I used the EA subscription service because I didn't trust to buy the full game. So I paid the $20
I would be happier
subscription for a
with
month.
EA's subscription service if they didn't. The way they screwed up their store in their app, I don't like how they did that.
Yeah.
Like they hide all the prices of the games behind a couple clicks now.
Origin is
but they say right away, but it's free with Origin access or whatever. I don't like that.
You want to see the price? Just put the price up.
You think that'd be an advantage? That'd be an advantage for them to show. Look at how much money you're saving by subscribing to our service as opposed to buying the game.
Yeah, just saying.
Why hide it behind a couple buttons?
Free doesn't mean anything unless you show what the non-free part price is.
Well, you don't have anything to compare it to. Why hide it behind a couple buttons? Show how much you're saving.
Yeah.
If you're playing a brand new game that's $80, which is ridiculous for a bunch of ones and zeros, by the way.
Well, it's ridiculous for a game that sucks, which in this case it
that
is.
too, and there's plenty of them. But just show us what you're saving. It just makes sense to me.
It's ridiculous to me in this sense for an $80 game because it was not finished. Anthem was not finished. The story was boring. It had nothing to do. The most exciting part of the campaign was a cutscene showing you what you could have been doing if the game was any good. They put it behind a grind wall. There was microtransactions for stuff that was not even worth it in the world that you imagine microtransactions are ever worth it. Starting with the assumption that they're worth it, this was not worth it because it was bad. So it should have been free. In conclusion, it should have been just free. And then maybe someone would have said, it was okay for a free game, but it's garbage. And their roadmap, like continuing on, I've been kind of keeping an eye on it. I haven't played it since, but
the whole year
it's been a disaster after disaster
of zero communication. Then they had this one thing where they're like, we're going to be so awesome, we're going to communicate with you all the time. Like now, number one, just so that we make this clear, I don't think devs have to communicate with you. I don't think they have to do that.
No.
However, when you release such a piece of crap that is Anthem, and never do anything that you say you're going to do,
well,
I expect a little bit of communication.
A game that they're trying to design as one of their quote-unquote live service games has to come out good and build from there. That is the ideal. Like, there's nothing wrong with the live service model if that's what you have. A good game that keeps getting better. Great. Fine. But they came out with a crap game. They promised they were going to communicate because it's always nice for a dev to do. They don't have to, but it's nice for them to do. But it's because people were disappointed that we're going to communicate with you. We're going to make it better. Stick with us, right? Mm-hmm. They failed all their timelines. They don't communicate. They've basically abandoned it in place because no one's playing it. So like there's always with that like live service thing where we're going to keep building on this asterisk if it makes money right off the bat, which if you release a crap game, it's not going to. So Anthem is a disaster across the board. The development, they've gone into, there's been a nice article from Kotaku, Jason Schreier, who does some pretty good articles.
He does. I can't stand him, but some of his articles are pretty good.
He gets politically charged when he doesn't need to.
Yep.
But when he actually does real journalism, he's actually quite good at it. So I like his real journalism. We'll call it real journalism.
His journalism is scathing journalism. It's not.
It is. It's good scathing journalism.
To a point, yeah. It's
when
more
he actually does
gossip journalism than anything.
He does a really good job with these investigative pieces, which I really appreciate reading. I don't like politics in my video games. You know that. Because video games is what I do to escape the world. But but when he actually talks about video games, it's fantastic. Yeah, Anthem, disaster across the board. That was my pick. What is your pick, Jeff?
So mine's a little off, and it's going to confuse some people probably. And I'll be honest, I didn't have anything that I personally played that was terrible this year.
Mm-hmm. Again, because we both played about 2 games. But
well, going back, actually, I played quite a few. I just didn't realize how many I had played.
Okay.
So I chose Kingdom Hearts 3. Now, people are probably like, what is wrong with you?
There were some people at this point.
For me, it didn't live up to my initial expectation. Mind you, Kingdom Hearts is not on the same level as Final Fantasy for me. So I didn't have as big of a letdown with it as, say, Final Fantasy 15. But I was looking forward to playing through a game, and I was looking forward to a game that would just keep me hooked and keep me playing. I loaded this game up once, and that was it. I didn't have any interest to go back into it. Mm-hmm. Granted, I probably didn't give it enough time, but I think that's an indication of just how my life is now. I don't have a lot of time.
You don't have a lot of time to spend on something you're bored with.
So, and I don't have a lot of time to commit to something that's long term unless it's something I can take with me on the road, which I can't. And that's why the Switch has been so great.
But to be fair there, like Kingdom Hearts is a series that you really like.
I did. I really loved 1 and 2.
So the fact that it bores you off the bat is not a good sign.
Well, yeah, and I wasn't, again, I wasn't as huge of a fan as probably I was with those 2 games. It's been so long since those original 2 were released. And the story is quite complex because they've done a lot of other releases on other platforms that I haven't played. Graphically, music-wise, it's Square Enix. It's great. Okay, there's nothing wrong with it. The gameplay seemed to be fine. I didn't really have a big deal with it. I think the biggest problem with it was it felt immature. And that makes sense because it's a game designed for younger people. They always have been. And I think when Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 came out, I maybe was just on the top end of that, sort of age-wise. I enjoyed it. I could still have fun with it. But now the language seems kind of juvenile.
If you call it
which is funny because the story is not.
Yeah, I was going to say, the story is very much ridiculously complicated.
It's very I don't see any kid understanding it. But another thing was all the Final Fantasy characters that were in it before, they're not in it. They are now. Or they're coming out in the expansion. They're adding the Final Fantasy characters back in. Mm-hmm. So that was sort of a weird thing to me because that was always the thing. Like, you had them in there. But anyway,
it's more Disney now than.
Yeah, and that's okay. That's okay. I'm impressed Disney still lets them do it. But I just, I don't know. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought. I thought it was going to be something that I wouldn't be able to put down, and I easily put it down. So
yeah, all right. I mean, it is most disappointing. You have to say it's a bad game to say it's disappointing. So
yeah, that's right. That's
not
correct,
where you were.
But now to be less.
We got the negative out of the way.
Best game of 2019.
The best game. Get the positive going here.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, disclaimer. I've only played a few games that were new this year. I think I could name them all.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's about 5. Nothing super great. Super big amount. So that's one of the reasons we're not doing the categories. But for me, the best game was easily Fire Emblem 3 Houses from Nintendo there. not a franchise I'd ever had much interest in before. So this surprised me. This was a surprise.
Japan doesn't understand it either, by the way. They're like, why does everyone like it there? Because we didn't know anything about it until Smash Bros. Game. Because they didn't release the games here.
Yeah. So like I had tried before in the past. I had tried Awakening, which is supposed to be really good on the DS. I put that one down pretty quick. It never really grabbed me. I like the tactics strategy style RPG kind of idea. Really cool. It just never grabbed me. This one, for some reason, it hooked me immediately. I was in. Now, granted,
it bored me immediately.
It bored you immediately, but immediately is a strong word. Like right off the bat, it's a bit slow. So
slow.
I don't mind slow though.
It's like being dragged in molasses.
I don't mind a slow game, but this was a bit too slow.
There's like an hour and a half of all they do is go blah 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 blah.
But it was okay. I mean, you have to be in the mood to start it. But it grabs you very quickly, at least I found, past that first initial dialogue dump. I don't know. I guess I just have more tolerance for slow games. For example, the Persona games were pretty slow at the start, too. And I loved it. But I guess that opened up the JRPG world for me a little. But yeah, this game was great. It had great music, great characters, a lot of characters to talk to and whatnot. A little creepy in some parts. Definitely very Japanese and certain tea time things that I will not get too far into. It was a bit weird. But getting past that, the great music. Strategy was awesome. Story is actually pretty interesting. Again, pretty dialogue heavy, but pretty interesting. Yeah, best game of the year for me.
So like I played
by a large margin.
I'm just remembering this now. The Fire Emblem... is it Heroes or no? What is it on the Switch?
The Warriors game.
Yeah, I played that. That's totally up my alley because you just go into the game and you play. But yeah, no, you guys tried to show me because you're like, this game's so great, and I'm watching you do it, and it's just all talking. And I'm like, all right, I get the need for dialogue, but it was excessive, and that's what I had a problem with it. But I'm happy you enjoyed it because that's great. I'm super happy to see you getting into JRPG stuff. That's fantastic.
it's a later in life thing for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really getting into it. This one, there's a lot. Like you're saying, there's a lot of dialogue. There's big slow sections where there's dialogue dumps. Lots. I don't
mind that, but it was tutorial dialogue.
Yes, I think, and in typical JRPG fashion, the tutorial lasts like 5 hours. But I think if you get past the initial part there, you would really enjoy it too. I think
it's possible. I'd never have time.
And it is a Switch game, which is really nice because you can take it with you whenever you travel for work.
Yeah.
So, it's very. I mean, I think it is better on a big screen. The small screen on the Switch with it is a little tight for all the UI elements. But yeah, it does work mobile, and I mostly play docked. Just for the bigger screen, but yeah, it's great. The graphics are a little. If there's the biggest weakness for me, other than the somewhat odd sections, is the graphics, which are the backgrounds are very low res, and it's very noticeable. So it's nothing that you would say is great graphics. The style is pretty good, but yeah, graphics is definitely its weak point. But I can get over that pretty easily.
It's anime style. It's sort of that's sort of
it is anime style, but like a lot of times when you bring anime to 3D, you put a little more effort into your backdrops. Or you should,
sometimes,
at least.
Yes.
Like my limited experience always compares it against Persona, and Persona 5 they did a lot better job.
Persona 5 is a different beast, though.
Persona 4 for the time I think was even better. Like you have to take account the fact that it's
I think Golden was
game,
really good. Persona 4 when it was released on PS2 was very good, but it was Persona 4 Golden took it to another level.
Yeah. No, I don't mind them. Like the character models are going to be better than the backdrops. I understand that. And in a 2019 game, it's a bit jarring. I mean, it is the Switch, and it is kind of an open world area. So, but you've seen what they can do with like Zelda and stuff, and I don't know. It seems like they could put a little more effort into it. But other than that, which again doesn't really bother me that much. It's a whatever. The gameplay more than makes up for that. So, game of the year for me. Moving to you, what do you got?
So this I just recently started playing. And that indicates how many games I played this year that I'm not really that excited about. Pokemon Sword and Shield. I'm borrowing yours right now, the Shield copy right now. I might actually buy a Sword copy at some point here. I had originally canceled it just because at the time I had other stuff I needed to spend money on. But I quite like it. The battle stuff is pretty good. Not impressed with the battle music, except the gym battle stuff. They nailed that. They nailed the gym battle stuff.
That's a great theme.
And now I get the Super Size Me thing. Whatever you call that.
the Dynamax.
Dynamax. Although I still don't care for it, but I understand. I get the strategy of it during the gym battles. I understand that now. Initially I did. I'm like, why not just Super Size Me now? So I do it, and I get it. It only lasts a few turns. So I understand it.
Yeah.
So I get it. You got to wait for a bit. So that's all right. It gets old really fast, that bit. But gym battle, like, it's totally like, it's like being in an arena, like watching a hockey game or something.
Yeah.
Like, people are cheering. There's like, and then you get to the last Pokemon against the guy, and the music changes. It's like people are like chanting and stuff. And it gets you into it. I really enjoy it. I really like that. I don't care for the puzzles, but there's always puzzles when you do the thing going to the gym. But other than that, it's Pokemon.
Yeah.
There's a little bit too much talking at the beginning.
There's a lot of talking at the beginning.
And what the hell is that guy wearing?
The champion?
Oh my goodness!
Oh, did you know that he's the unbeatable champion?
No, I missed that completely.
Did you know that Hop's brother is the unbeatable champion?
No, I didn't. I didn't know that.
Hop talks a lot.
Also that.
He's a goof. He kind of grows on you, I think, a little, but he's a goof.
No, I do agree with that. He's got a character, and that's okay. He's an idiot because he chose the wrong Pokemon. But
that is something interesting that they did this time.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, they changed it up a little bit there.
Is it really a spoiler? I think I told you the spoiler there. With so your immediate rival, you have the typical 3 starters. In the past, your rival would pick whatever one was strong against you.
Well, I knew this a long time ago.
This time he picks the weak one against you.
Yeah.
But the champion takes the one that's strong against you.
Yes.
So when you fight the champion at the end,
Yep.
you fight the fully evolved form of the one that's strong against your starter. Which at that point, though, it doesn't matter as much because you have probably a well-balanced team.
I have one of the new
Squirtles
that's transformed into the War Turtle guy, whatever.
The turtle.
The turtle guy, yeah. I was hoping he did. I didn't know if he'd evolve or not, but I'm like, that's a Squirtle. I'll take it. So, yeah.
Dreadnought.
Yeah, that guy's great. I like that Pokemon. And the new Pokemon designs are really good.
Yeah.
Like, they've had generations where they're like, I don't know what they were thinking, but these are all stupid.
Yeah.
These ones are really good. And there's a couple of them like, but it is weird. Like, I'm not used to playing games where you can just, like, any of the generations Pokemons can show up. Like Pokemon can show
Pokemans.
up. So, like, to see I don't know, like a Gloom beside some other weird flower thing, like, it's a little jarring to me to see.
As an old school player.
Yeah, because I haven't played a lot of the latest stuff. So, in fact, the latest one is that Pokemon whatever, Let's Go.
Let's Go.
That's it. Which is an old game just refreshed. So,
yeah.
But having a lot of fun with it. I stayed up way too long the other night playing it while I was on the road. So,
I know a lot of people.
I even woke up in the middle of the night. I'm like, I'm bored. I'm going to play some Pokemon.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
She's probably sleeping.
Yeah, probably should be sleeping right now. But that, to me, that's an indication of a good game.
Yeah.
So that's what I was hoping Kingdom Hearts would be. Wasn't at all. Of course, I couldn't do that on the road, but regardless. So.
I know a lot of people were disappointed with that one, and there are definitely arguments there are definitely flaws with the game, but I agree with you overall that I really enjoyed it, and it was probably my number 2. On the year.
I miss random battles. I know a lot of people don't like them, but I think the surprise of what Pokemon shows up, you do get that every once in a while. You get the little exclamation mark in there, in the thing or whatever. But I like the surprise of, what Pokemon is going to show up next.
Yeah.
Instead, you're always seeing the Pokemon that are going to be there.
Now, you can do random battles in this one, but there's also Overworld. They combine it with the Let's Go. So if you run around the grass, you can see the...
Yeah.
You can get mystery ones.
Yeah, but you get every once in a while a mystery one will pop up or whatever.
You don't have to. You can always just go out for one you want, right?
It's just... Well, that's the thing. That's a problem.
I agree
that's a systematic issue I have with games nowadays. I just want what I want, so I want to see it. You do.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Now, I'm an old school player, too. I played since the beginning of Pokemon time. And that was one thing a lot of people praised about Let's Go that I still don't like. First of all, I don't like the catching system in Let's Go. So I'm glad they didn't put that in the main, quote-unquote, mainstream game. Because I hate that motion capture thing. I know a lot of people like it. I don't, personally. But
it's annoying when you're trying to grind for like awesome Pokemon.
Yeah. But the overworld thing is cool. But in the normal walking around zone, so there's two sections to this game. There's the wild area, and then there's the old the storyline mode. The storyline mode in this game was admittedly sparse. That's something that
it does seem kind of empty. Like I'm surprised how far I am in the game already.
You can go if you just blitz the main storyline. You can go. It's very short.
Yeah, doesn't surprise me
because they expect you to go in the wild area. Which, to their credit, the wild area is awesome. That's an excellent evolution of the Pokemon game. To run around an open world with a third-person camera, finding Pokemon and doing all that stuff.
Actually, I found myself when you get back to the regular areas.
Yeah.
I can't move the camera.
Yeah, and you notice it, right?
What was the possible point of doing that? To me, it's like...
it seems like they made two different games. One that's like the wild area, and one that's the normal, traditional Pokemon game where you can't move your camera and you just run. I like both those styles, actually. And the new one is awesome. The old one is classic. They didn't put a lot of effort in the old one, and I understand that criticism. Because you just basically, you're gym rushing. You're not doing a lot in between.
Can I say also, like you go to the first couple major gyms or whatever, they make you go to a hotel the night before and whatever, and then go and do the fight the next morning, which, whatever. It is interesting. Like, it looks like the game takes place over just a few days, which is like, that feels so compressed to me.
Yeah.
Because to me, Pokemon feels like every time you go to a Pokemon Center, basically, that's a day. So that to me is how it separates in my mind.
Well, because like before it was one continuous thing, but then there's kind of a suspension of disbelief there. Yeah. Whereas if you start doing days, you're like, okay, so this is only taking a few days. You know?
Yeah,
you start counting time as opposed to not having any concept of time.
My big thing was like, did I really need a Pokemon like gym guide to lead me to the hotel that's right next door?
No. Well, they also put quest indicators on your maps. You can I'm going to go there.
Yeah,
that's where they tell you where the next quest thing is. But like, anyway,
that was going a little too far.
Yeah. Now again, keeping in mind, of course, that the base game, at the very least, the base game is designed for kids. So understand a little.
Kids not smart enough to figure it out. Kids played the original Pokemon and enjoyed it just fine.
To be fair, the original Pokemon was cryptic and hard to get through, but. Not hard. Like it was more difficult than any modern iteration. But anyway,
kids learn how to play a game. Come on, jeez, you don't need to be told how to do everything.
Anyway, it was.
But anyway, Sword and Shield.
Sword and Shield.
Pretty happy with it. So I didn't even have to pay for it.
Yeah, well, right now you're borrowing it. So
yep, I know.
It's a good deal. I was just gonna say, for me, I think I played the only other games that were in consideration, just for everyone's reference. For me, I played Outer Worlds. Fire Emblem, Pokemon, and a couple indies like Katana Zero and My Friend Pedro, and that's about all I played from this year. So just for reference, there's probably some games that weren't on that list that you might be like, where the heck are they? Mm-hmm. I didn't play them. Some of them, like a lot of people like those Sekiro Souls games. If anyone's listened to this podcast before we talk about games, you know I don't like Souls games. So I just ignored that whole thing.
Those are junk.
Even though that one is probably the most interesting.
Kevin loves to punish himself with those.
Yeah.
We hate him.
To me, I was going to say Sekiro, which I think won Game of the Year at the Game Awards, looks like the most interesting Souls game they've ever come out with. Still not my thing.
Don't even care. As soon as it's the same with the recently the Jedi thing.
Yeah.
As soon as somebody compared it to Souls, I'm like, well, I guess I'm not playing.
I watched
that game.
I was like, to me, a good Star Wars game is like something to be celebrated. I'm like, awesome, a good Star Wars game, but it's a Souls-like, and I don't care. Yeah. But like, I'm glad they made a good one because. Hopefully, it opens the door for more.
I'm glad they made a good one for people that like those kind of games.
Yeah, but the fact that they made
something I'd ever want to play.
Me either. But the fact that they made a quality Star Wars game is finally. Thank you for doing that. I really appreciate you doing that. I'm not going to play it, but I really appreciate you doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about all we got for 2019.
All right.
Do you have any other mentions?
Do we want to talk about what do we want? Do we want to do the games of the decade now?
It's time for games of the decade. If you have nothing else to say about 2019.
I have nothing else to say about 2019 because it was a pretty crappy year.
So. All right. Well, thanks for joining us on the podcast.
All right, we're done. Thanks a lot. It was one of our quickest. Actually, that's not been quick. It's half an hour in.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
For two categories.
Holy smokes.
We droned on.
All right.
Top 10. We're going to start out
How
with the top 10
about we alternate on these?
Yes, that's a good idea.
Should we also go from 10 to 1?
10 to 1 is
Let's
normal.
do 10 to 1, yeah.
10 to 1, top 10 games of the 2010 decades. I think I put 2020 top 10 games of the decade. That's wrong because there's been
you did do that, but I was like, you know what? Who cares? We know what we're talking about.
Yeah, so then we'll do that, and we'll get into some honorable mentions after that. But top 10, let's just do that. You want to start off?
Sure, I can
start off. What's your number 10?
Number
Jeff?
10, Final Fantasy 14: A Realm Reborn. So that came out, and that was an expansion that came out 2013, Square Enix, and it played down on PC. First of all, I want to say I didn't really want to include expansions, but to me, this was a new game. It had a brand new storyline. It was like a separate game almost.
I will jump in real quick. As the quote-unquote creator of this particular rubric, I said at the beginning, just so everyone's clear, there are no rules. So don't go stickler for the rules because there aren't any. This
was a personal feeling
and
of
two,
mine.
Specifically for Final Fantasy 14 Realm Reborn, that's basically the actual release of Final Fantasy 14.
Yes.
As far as I'm concerned. The original release of Final Fantasy 14 was nothing but a mistake and should be forgotten forever.
Yeah. When a flower has over 20,000 polygons, that's when you know you've gone wrong.
We just forget about the original 14. Yeah. Realm Reborn is, as far as I'm concerned, the actual release. So you're good to go. Just thought I'd throw that. So continue.
I edited this after we were doing this last night. I actually had World of Warcraft in 10th place, but I added a different. It actually got bumped off the list last night. So it would have been 11th. Just out of
the battle for Azeroth.
Yeah, it would have been 11th, but that ended up getting bottled, and we can talk about that later. So Final Fantasy 14, fantastic game. It's Final Fantasy. It's got a great story. Plays really well. Like if you want to play another MMO that's sort of WoWish but like refresh, like different, that's the one. You still got to play monthly for it, so you're not getting away from that. Mm-hmm. But it's a really good game.
Realm Reborn,
and the music's way better. Like, I'm a Final Fantasy guy, although maybe perhaps not so much recently, but the music is just, everything is about as better. Sorry. All right. Just not to stay on it for too long.
To add to that, Shadowbringers, the new expansion for 2019, is apparently one of the best MMOs ever released.
Heaven's Word also got the same thing when it came out.
So
I didn't get very far.
If you ended up playing the expansion 2019, that might have been your quote unquote game of the year, even though it's an expansion. But
actually, it probably would have been. But I was playing World of Warcraft, so yeah. I've actually been interested in Final Fantasy 14 because I've seen everyone say so much about it. So good.
To me, though, MMOs in general are a tough sell, and that's coming from someone who's dumped incredible amounts of time into World of Warcraft. The difference there was, to me, Warcraft was the franchise of my childhood. So having all that background lore and having a world that I already kind of knew was like a jump-in point for me. So I have been trying. It's tempting for me, but I'm a little tentative to try out another MMO, especially in modern time. But yeah, I mean, it's by all accounts a good game. So good choice, Jeff. Really good choice.
Good choice for number 10.
Okay, my number 10. This was a hard list. You probably saw me.
Oh man, I think it took me at least 2 hours to come up with a list of games that I wanted to include on the list, and then cutting them and then putting them in order.
It was hard.
Oh,
and we were editing the Google Doc at the same time, and probably messing with each other at the same time. But what ended up coming in at number 10, and to be fair, I could have put a lot of stuff at number 10. But number 10 for me, what ended up being The Witcher 2, Assassins of Kings was the name of the game. That game, I think, it came out in 2011, I believe. And it was, it took a while for me to get into this game. This is true of all of the Witcher games, to be fair. Where I started playing it, and I was like, But once you get in, I got into it more. I ended up restarting, playing through it again, and I really liked it. So I had to stick with this one. But it was very good. The storyline was interesting. There's a couple paths you could take that was very interesting. The combat is not my... Third-person action combat is not really my cup of tea, normally. It takes me some time to get into it. This was pretty good. The way you could combine your magic signs with your sword play and stuff was really well done. It was a little, I want to say janky.
Is it as janky as 3?
More. 3 was really? A little more refined.
Because I find 3 really, to me,
it is janky, and I would agree with that. And maybe that's just me being picky.
It looks great, but it's really hard for me to play anyway.
This one actually looked really good for the time, and it still does look good.
Well, that was a hardware pusher again, wasn't it? That was
yes.
like Witcher 3 is a hardware pusher.
The mouth graphics are very early 2010s, but everything else, but everything else was very very nice. I did have disclaimer on this one. When I played it for the first time, my second restart that actually got through the game, I did put in a couple mods to fix a few things because there's a few things that were a bit off. So it was a slightly modded version. But yeah, that's my number 10. It's a great game, and it still is. Going back is a little harder, but it still looks pretty good, even by modern standards, especially with some mods in there. So that's a definite number 10 for me.
Right on.
For you, number 9.
Number 9, I have Octopath Traveler. Square Enix released that in 2018, and of course I played it on the Switch. It's also available on PC now.
Octopath Traveler.
This was a return to sort of the roots. Not quite as much as a couple other RPGs Square Enix had released during the time, like I Am Setsuna and stuff a little previously to that, or was it Lost Sphere? I forget what that's called. I think it's that. Anyway, this takes sort of the old school JRPG, mixes up the battle system a little bit, but it's the battle system is similar to other stuff I've played before. But I think what's really key here is the music was fantastic. It was the game itself, the battle system. If you're grinding to level up, which you do have to do in that game, that's traditional JRPG. That's usually typically something you had to do. The battle system is not a good grinding battle system because if you want to do damage to monsters, you have to break their defenses. That only lasts for so long, and then their defenses back up, and then you're doing no damage to them again. So it takes a while. I guess probably to be fair, I didn't really explore and delve really deep into changing jobs for the different characters a lot. And I also haven't beaten the game, which I think that's probably pretty much everything on the list I haven't beaten. But
it's a good indicator that you really enjoyed it if you haven't if it's considered one of the best of your
It decade. Is, and it's probably almost purely for music. The gameplay was a lot of fun, but once I had to grind between sort of this different chapter sections, that kind of slowed me down a bit. So
now this seemed like from my observation, this seemed like a game that was very good for like epic boss battles, but they tried to do that same formula with even the basic grinding, like you mentioned, and that's probably it's falling down. I would guess.
I think the boss battles work really well with that system. They can be very difficult because of that system, having to break the defenses. But yeah, you have the same battle system on both ends there during bosses and during regular mobs that you have to fight, and that can be it can be frustrating. But that's a JRPG for you. So anyway, that's why it's not any further up the list.
Yeah, cool.
How about you, Dan?
For me, number 9, I probably won't have to spend very long on this one. Because we just talked about it.
Oh, hey, look, it's that game.
Number 9 was Fire Emblem, 3 Houses for me of the decade.
Say, I haven't heard of that game before, Dan. What's that game about?
Yeah. So this one, despite 2019 being a little overall not a great year for gaming, that one made the list because I liked it that much. And I still have to play 2 more paths of it because I've only played 1 house. So
gross.
Well, maybe 3 more paths. Not to get into that. Anyway. You got to try it, man. You got to try it.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, I got so many games to play.
It's on the Switch, man. You can take it with you. I'll just lend it to you.
Yeah, I'm working on Pokemon.
Free. I know. Once you're done.
Will I ever be done?
Sorry, I was going to say, speaking of that Pokemon, since you mentioned that one for your game in 2019, going back a little bit here, there's a new expansion coming out for it this year. So,
going to have all the Pokemons back.
Well,
not just
more
selection
or something.
But it's supposed to be a bunch of them. Yeah. So anyway, that's exciting.
Number 8, Jeff.
Number 8, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, otherwise known as Biohazard 7 Resident Evil in Japan. 2017 Capcom.
A zombie game?
Yes, played that on PS4. So this is Capcom's reimagining of Resident Evil 7. Everybody's heard of this game. So first person, which was cool. I normally actually don't like that, but it's not really a super actiony game. There's shooting and stuff though, but it's not. It's not Dishonored. It's not that kind of actiony. And I'm also not really into doing that stuff on my own per se, but for some reason I could get through it, and I did.
And you enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed the game.
And that's even without the VR because you didn't have VR, did you?
I didn't do it in VR. I did that all on my. Well, I initially played it on PS4. For some reason, I thought I had it on PC, but I guess I don't. But anyway, I played it on PS4, and it was really good, and it looked good on there too. So, yeah, really enjoyed it. It was Resident Evil. So.
Yeah, that's exactly why I didn't play it. Because you'd be hard pressed to get me into a horror and or zombie game. So
yeah,
that's me personally though. My number. Are you done? Sorry.
Yeah. No. Go ahead. Yes.
My number 8 was a game from 2013 that I didn't end up playing until I want to say 2018, or was it even this year? No, I think it was 18. And that one is BioShock Infinite.
Mm-hmm.
Now this one is again a surprise for me. I tried to play the original BioShock games, and since I was just talking about it, they're kind of horror games. And they weren't really my cup of tea. I wouldn't call them bad by any stretch. They were well made, just not my style.
I loved the original BioShock just up to past the beginning.
Yeah.
I loved how it started. I
the
thought
start
it was so cool.
was really cool, and I thought it was something I was going to love, but I quickly
beyond that,
lost
I was
interest.
Like, yeah.
And I know it's people love the BioShock series, and I don't blame you because it's, from by all accounts, a really well made game.
Mm-hmm.
So I never even tried this one when it came out, Infinite. I was like, it looks cool, but I played the other ones, and it's not really my style. I ended up playing it on the assistance of a friend. It took years, but I ended up playing it, and that is a really good game. Very different stylistically from the other BioShock games. The combat and stuff is similar, how you pick up items and all that stuff, but a different feel.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible
certainly
game.
brighter.
Very much brighter. Less horror, although a little bit, but not much less. More of an adventure and a very interesting one, having to do with all sorts of stuff. And in case have you played it? I guess it's an old game now, so spoilers. Do we really care?
I used it as a benchmark.
Spoilers. Spoiler warning, real quick here, in case you still want to play.
Spoiler.
A 7-year-old game now, but the way that they handle how like multiverse and all that interesting like sci-fi stuff, I did not expect in this game. And they did it really well and really interestingly, and it kind of threw me for a loop. I wasn't expecting some of it. So great, just overall great game.
I may have to load it up and try it again. You're sort of intriguing me a little bit. The problem is I could probably get into something like that. It's just both BioShocks beforehand, I loved the beginnings of them, and then it just totally dropped off for me.
Yeah.
So it would have to get over that expectation of being crappy right away. So and it's not crappy, it's crappy to me. It's
like
not
your,
it's not a bad
it
game. It's not
down,
something I'm interested in. That's all.
This one was far less like horror, slow, scary kind of thing, which I don't really care for. Not because it's scary, just because I don't care for that style of storytelling. And anyway, this one was very much more interesting, and it has an element of sci-fi in it that I think you'd appreciate as a fellow Trek nerd. So I recommend that one.
But it's not Star Trek.
It's not Star Trek. That's not even close.
Not even close.
It's definitely more of a like
steampunky
steampunky kind of
Enterprise
thing.
show up?
No, it's definitely more steampunky kind of style, I guess. But it's really cool. And
Steampunk works for me. That's sort of half of what got me interested in Dishonored, because I'm like, that's pretty cool. Except then I played the game. I'm like, I hate how this game plays. So it's too
Dishonored,
bad.
I really like Dishonored.
Because the story's really cool, but
I really wish Dishonored was third person. Oh man,
it was third person.
That's another.
If it was third person, it'd be number one on my list.
That's another thing.
Instead, it's not even on my honorable mentions.
There you go.
So
this one is also a first-person shooter game. So
yes,
that combining first-person shooter with adventure is a tough sell for me, but this one did it. So anyway, let's go to number 7 then for you.
7. Life is Strange Season 1.
Life is Strange.
I think this was a big pick for me when it came out as well. I really liked the time back yuppie rewind thing was kind of cool. I wasn't even expecting that was going to be part of the game. I didn't even know that when I got into it, but being able to rewind time and then make a different decision, that was kind of a cool mechanic. You're basically just playing out a story of a girl, which is interesting. But I would say you're actually playing a girl, as opposed to games like to now offer you the choice of playing a girl or a guy, except the girl's just a girl skin on a guy. Like there's not really.
Well, there's not much personality to either.
There's usually no difference in personality at all. Life is Strange. You get in the mind of a girl, and you also like it's weird, and it sounds weird to come from a guy, but it was totally interesting to me. It's like this is fascinating
to see how
to
she
live in
reacts.
the world of what girls have to deal with, and then you got that sci-fi aspect of being able to move back time and stuff, and again, I didn't finish this. I got to the end of episode 3, I think, or something. I bought the collector's edition of it because it was cheap, number one, and it came with a soundtrack. And because I really liked the beginning song in the game, which I thought was really good, but I really liked it. Don't Nod did a really good job, and that came out in 2015. I didn't realize it'd been that long, but it was. I don't know what else to say about it. It's just a really interesting story, so I enjoyed it. So
Excellent.
Dan,
My number 7, and we've already talked about this a little bit, was another Witcher game, The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Again, improvement on the second one in all mechanical ways. I actually liked the story, I think, of the second one a little better than the third one, which maybe is a little controversial. But overall, as a game, the third one was a better game. Again, same thing with the combat. Well done, interesting combination with magic and swordplay. Still a little clunky to control.
It felt really clunky to me.
But widely considered one of the better RPGs of the modern era. So, and I give it a nod. I really enjoyed it. It was a fantastic play. And it says a lot to me. I'm usually a fairly I like story-heavy games. And while both Witcher games were story-heavy, you kind of started from a spot of having to know knowledge. They dump you in there with like knowledge of the world, but they don't tell you because it's all based on books that I never read.
No, but that I like. So, I like stuff when it does.
It's
like
actually
that.
an interesting.
I don't like being spoon-fed everything right off the beginning.
Yeah.
So.
Some cases I wish they did a better job of explaining where you were for people that hadn't read the books.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an interesting take. So I just thought that. And there's not much else to say. We already talked about it, the Witcher universe, with Witcher 2 earlier. So
the best part of Witcher 3 to me was not the Griffin story, but the one after that where
the
trying to
Baron?
remember. Yeah.
Bloody Baron.
I love that.
Yeah. So this, episodically, this game did episodic quest lines better than any game I think ever.
Oh, I did that. That could have been the game for me as far as I was concerned.
And they did that with several quest lines. You're like, this is incredible.
Yep.
And their expansions, I haven't finished the expansions actually, which I want to go back and replay them. But
Kev's played through them. He
really
loves
good
them.
too.
Yeah.
Like they might have well taken like a quest line and made it into an expansion, right?
Yep.
Its whole game.
Yep.
That's something that this game I think does better than any other game that I've ever played. I just think the overall main storyline, I think of Witcher 2 I enjoyed more than this one. But the individual quest lines, bar none, amazing. Right. So, yeah, that's my number 7.
Number 6 for me. So to go through this list takes a little bit of background here. I had to go through 3 different top 100s of the decade to list the games so I remember what I had played. Because they're not all on Steam. I have them on my library on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 3, 360, and on Xbox One. And so I'm not going to go through all that, but I could look at those. So I'd been reminded about this game and thought, oh, yeah, Borderlands 2. That was released in 2012 by Gearbox, and I played that on the PS3 to start. And so I've never played a loot game thing before.
Looter shooter?
They're the definition of it. Borderlands is the definition of it. And Borderlands 2 took it to another level. I never played the first one. Played the crap out of Borderlands 2. Played it with friends. The most addicting thing of it was the stupid slot machine thing. Just
the early slot machine.
Loved that thing so much. Loved the game. Handsome Jack was really cool character. I want to play it now. It was really good. There's not a whole lot to say. I love the style of the graphics. The gameplay was a lot of fun. Controls are a little wonky, but as before, sort of all the first-person shooter controls sort of got like standardized. Mm-hmm. But a lot of fun.
Driving was a bit wonky in Borderlands.
That was wrong. That's what that was. Yeah.
Now, quick question: was this one that you beat, or you didn't beat this one?
Almost.
Almost.
Kevin moved away just before, or did he get married? Was it he got married? I think he got married, and then
So you lost your
that
co-op
was
partner.
it.
Oh.
So
Yeah,
playing that game on it's not a solo game.
Just so everyone's clear, like we're not like before they start shouting at us in case anyone had the desire. Jeff's more of a video game sampler than a video game beater. So
well, so I beat
fun.
games. It's just because of my job, I don't have a lot of time to dedicate to stuff.
We're not reviewers. We're not like reviewing. We're just saying what's our best.
Well, reviewers don't play all their
That's fair
games
too.
anymore either.
Just want to throw it out there. That's a different,
But I almost beat that game.
Almost.
We were at the last thing. We just he got married or whatever, and that was that. So
for me, I was just curious. Not that I'm saying anything bad.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I actually when I played Borderlands 2 the first time when it came out, I got bored of it pretty quickly. Very recently, I think this year, I picked it up again with a friend, and we beat it, and it was a riot.
so
I was like,
much
I
fun.
understand. I'm finally understanding what everyone sees in this game. Now, to me, not to be a PC snob, but I played it originally on, I believe, 360, and this is the frame rate on 360 was low.
I can't go back to playing on any of the consoles doing that stuff.
To me, and looking back, I'm realizing part of the biggest problem was when I originally played Borderlands, it made me motion sick, and that's one of the reasons I didn't want to continue playing it at 60 FPS on PC. I was like, okay, I'm not getting motion sick anymore. I have a wider frame of view. I can pull it out a little. I don't get sick of it anymore, and I'm understanding why people love it so much. So I agree that ended up being a really good game, but it took me
Borderlands 3, I'm sure would have been on this list if it wasn't bullshit Epic crap.
Oh,
so
you mean you didn't play it because it was on Epic?
Yeah, until it's no longer exclusive, I'm not going to play it. So, and because I don't care about Epic.
To me, the biggest
not
problem,
Epic Store. Epic is okay, but Epic Store is bullcrap.
The biggest thing, I mean, I don't really want to buy it on Epic either, but the biggest thing holding it back for me is that one of Borderlands 2 and specifically one of the biggest boons of that game was Handsome Jack and how he was a pretty awesome villain. The new villains look terrible, so I don't really care to.
You're right about that.
Play Borderlands 2 without.
I never found any of the enemies except for like Handsome Jack and whatever to be particularly inspired in Borderlands.
No.
But I did find all of the battles to be fun.
Yeah.
So.
And it's
that really didn't even matter to me at that point.
Borderlands 3 could still be great in spite of the fact that there's not a great villain. It's just one of the biggest draws for me about Borderlands 2 was that Handsome Jack was an annoying but yet fun villain to fight against.
Yeah, ignoring all the controversy of that game too with Claptrap and all that stuff, like they had the voiceover guys.
Oh, the voice, the Randy Pitchford. Yeah, you know what? Randy Pitchford ruins everything there. So just as long as you ignore him, whatever.
It's a game and it's business.
Yeah.
You know what? Move on. So
I don't support any of that stuff. But
anyway, Borderlands 2, really enjoyed that game. So
that was number 6, right?
That was number 6. Yes.
Okay, for number 6 for me was a little game called an indie game called Rocket League.
Yeah, that little indie game. Yeah,
little indie game at the time.
Yeah, it was.
It's kind of grown into a big thing and bought by Epic.
Big deal now.
But back in the day, it was an indie game made by Psyonix, I believe their name is. Actually, a sequel, which I didn't know at first, but it's a sequel to an old game.
Really? So, if I may just interject here for a second,
yep.
I thought they came up with this after seeing a couple episodes of Top Gear, where Top Gear they used the cars to play soccer, and it wasn't the case at all. I had no idea. I had no idea something similar even existed. Oh. But that's where I thought they got the idea from because it happened a couple years afterward.
That might have been helped.
It maybe helped inspire it a bit.
The original game, I believe, was something like super rocket powered battle cars or something like that. So it wasn't like.
Okay.
But yeah, it's technically a sequel from what I understand.
All right.
Still going strong. I still love playing it every now and again.
I have the DeLorean car.
I'm terrible at this game.
I paid for the DeLorean car.
I mean, they had some interesting DLC. You could buy special cars. Thing is, I only played the original car, the Octane. Anyways, sometimes I'll just goof off and do something different. But I just like the original car. Looks
DeLorean because you can go almost back in time, but it never quite happens.
You can't quite hit 88.
No.
But yeah, it's a ridiculous game about cars playing soccer and bouncing off walls.
It is fun. I find it a lot of fun. I just suck at it really bad. So when you get into games where people are just like doing all kinds of crazy crap, it looks like fun.
Yeah.
I can't do any of it.
I'm really bad too, but I doesn't matter to me. I love the game. Yeah. It's fantastic. Simple concept, but easy to pick up and hard to master.
It is that. It's very hard to master, but it is. You're right. It's very easy to pick up.
So that's something I've been playing off and on for for 5 years or so, or whatever it came out, 2015. So 4 or 5 years now. So yeah. That's, what about number 5?
So I totally forgot about this until later on doing the list. Like, oh, I can't forget this because I even wrote like a love letter to it on the website. Sonic Mania. So that was released 2017. I can't believe it's that long ago. Pagoda West Games, headcanon, and with Sega. And I originally played it on the PS4, but I now have it on PS4, I have it on PC, and I have it on the Switch. So, and I bought it twice for the Switch.
So now you can play.
I have the cartridge version and the digital version because I forgot the cartridge version one time, so I bought it while I was on the road.
Because you wanted to play.
Nuts. So
he loves this game.
Yeah, I really love Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic 2 specifically, but I love Sonic the Hedgehog. This was, as I said in my story, a love letter to Sonic fans. Finally, a 2D Sonic game that doesn't suck. Very good. We played it together.
Yeah, it's
and
fun.
I think you had fun.
I had a lot of fun. I'd never played a Sonic game before, so that was interesting.
So it was a good introduction.
Trying to play a platformer where we had to like ramp up speed, and I wasn't like.
Yeah, it's got really interesting physics, and they nailed it. They nailed it.
I knew kind of how to control him because I played him on Super Smash Brothers, so I kind of knew how he. And it's a similar concept. They did a pretty.
That's more 3D Sonic.
It is, but they did more of a decent job of kind of how the spinning up works and all that stuff. So I kind of knew how to do that, but like the momentum and everything was in a platformer scenario was interesting for me.
Yeah, it's like people like to compare him to Super Mario Bros. Because they're like the rivals. I don't like they're both platformers, but to me that's where it ends. To me, Sonic is more of a physics thing, whereas Mario is a hopping game. You know, look, I'm hopping from platform to platform.
Is that a dig at Mario or Mario? Sorry, Mario's Canadian.
I don't like to say that. Mario was never my thing. I grew up with Mario, Super Mario Bros. I didn't have a Sonic game until I was much later in life. Like not much later, but I was much older than what I played Mario.
I'm not criticizing, by the way. I never played a Mario game, so I know people are like, yes, but I never had Nintendo. So until
what's the new thing? What's the Mario one that's out now? Crap.
Odyssey.
Odyssey. That's a pretty good game, I gotta say.
I might have to pick that up one time or steal it from someone.
But yeah, Sonic Mania, fantastic. If you like any of the original 2D games, screw Sonic 3, don't care, or Sonic CD, but Sonic 1, Sonic 2, you will love Sonic Mania. Pick it up; it's worth the money. So
it's pretty cheap, actually. I bought it myself.
It's very cheap,
and it was like I was on sale for like $5.
They did release 2 extra new characters for some reason. They're stupid. Ignore them. Just play the originals.
Cool. Okay, number 5. Excuse me, clear my throat. Number 5 for me is a bit of a cheat. Why
is that a cheat?
Well, originally this game was released, I believe, in 2008.
But they added a ton of content. I think it's a new game.
The redone new game version, Persona 4 Golden. Technically came out in 2012. Like I said, there's no rules. So I'm going to put it on my list. I played actually, I specifically... I came after I played Persona 5, enjoyed it, and then wanted to play the previous one because I wanted to see what that was like, and you said it was really good. So I actually bought a PlayStation Vita.
Well, you bought the
not Vita,
TV.
The TV.
Yeah, so you had PlayStation Vita here, but you actually played it on the TV.
It's the PlayStation Vita version that I played on the PS TV. So I bought the PS TV just to play this, and then I think I gave it to you.
Yes, it's here in one of these boxes.
But anyway, so I used it for one thing. So it was a rather expensive game in that sense. The game itself was cheap, but the equipment to play
was
worth it. Expensive, but definitely worth it. It's not, it's number 5 on my list.
Exactly.
This Persona series was I was never a big JRPG guy. Grew up playing.
It took a lot of convincing.
It did. I grew up playing mostly strategy games on computer, the occasional platformer, and a couple like CRPG games. So JRPG was never a thing. I never had consoles. I just had a computer. So
yeah, we were the opposite.
We were the opposite.
We didn't
in that sense.
We had a PC, but it was an office PC. We didn't play games on it.
Yeah,
we grew up with consoles, and we had them like generation wise. We had them like 2 generations behind until we could start buying them ourselves.
Yeah,
so it was a bit different.
Stuff, yeah. So for me, we had an Atari, I think, but that's not really the same thing.
Atari's good, man.
I was cool.
I bought a 2600. I got the Junior. Mm-hmm. The games are great.
Oh yeah, it was great.
They're simple, but they're so simple and easy
addictive
to play.
Games. Yeah. So we played that, but most of like our big games that I played was all on PC.
Yep.
Very much a PC gamer. So I only recently got into this because you said it was a fantastic series. It looked anime as heck. I'm not a big anime watcher.
It is anime,
and it is anime as heck. but I absolutely
that
loved
draws
it.
me to it.
Yeah,
I know
well,
that's
I don't really
but-
watch anime. I don't really do that. So I'm kind of like what do they call it? Weebs. I'm the anti-weeb sort of. But these games were amazing. Very anime, and there's a lot of like Japanese stuff that's typical for the Japanese cartoon
Very
stuff.
Japanese, yep.
But I ended up loving all of it.
These games
so
don't hold back on the Japanese. Like
they do not.
It's Japan. Yeah.
Persona 4 Golden, great music, awesome turn-based combat, which is turn-based was not something I ever really liked back in the day. I liked real-time strategy.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up getting into turn-based strategy.
I'm still having a hard time convincing you to play like Final Fantasy 1 because it's turn-based.
But as I get older and maybe slower, and maybe that's what's happening, I don't know. As I get older, I just really enjoy turn-based stuff, strategy, and I'm starting to enjoy
it is
RPGs.
strategy though, right? Like
Yeah.
you got to decide what you're going to do, and you can see what's going to happen next. Who's going to go
more
next?
of the
stuff.
strategic. Yeah, so I'm starting to really like it. There is probably a limit to how far I'm willing to delve into JRPGs. We'll find out, but I'm starting to get there with like Fire Emblem and Persona series. So Persona 4 Golden, awesome redo of a great game. Yeah, not much more to say about that.
I never even heard of the Persona series until this was reviewed on Kotaku. I don't even pay attention to Kotaku anymore, but at the time I did.
Mm.
And I'd never heard of the Persona series before, and it was like, I'm like, is it really that good? And originally I thought it was, what is it? Is it an RPG? Like, do you fight stuff, or is it a dating simulator? Because it felt like, because there are elements of both in it. And
there's dating elements. There's like time management.
Yeah.
Which I love time management. So
and
that's
it's
what
a
initially
game you literally can't do everything in
Yeah.
when you go through, because there are only so many things you can do.
And honestly, the part that convinced me to get into a JRPG was the time management side, because I love those time management strategy type games, those little indie ones. So this one I was like, oh, it's got that, plus it's got an RPG on top, and it has like the dating thing, which is like whatever. I participated, but like it's not. I don't really care that much.
Well,
about it.
I guess I shouldn't call it date. I should call it like a relationship.
Relationship.
Thing.
There's like you have to manage
Which
relationships,
are important.
Yeah, they're very strategic in the game, and there's also like I don't know what you call it, but there's also like you can romance, which is fine. I don't mind that in games. It adds to the story, I find. So, but overall, it was great. I would never play. I would say I'd never play like a straight dating simulator. That would be not worth my time. I don't think
that'd be different.
But like having some of that stuff in the game actually added to it. So overall, the time management drew me in, and the RPG kept me around.
And
it was
the
great.
Pokemon aspect of
there's a little bit of Pokemon catching the personas or whatever, sort of
making the
it was
different
interesting.
personas.
So, Persona 4, number 5. What do you got for number 4 there, Jeff?
The top 4 were really tough for me, and I rewrote them several times on my notepad thing. I wasn't doing them in there when you live. I was doing it on the notepad thing, and then I put them on here. And so I went with Pinball Arcade. That came out in 2012 by Farsight Studios.
Pinball Arcade.
Yeah. I originally played that on PS3. I've now played it on PS4, and I've played it just to try it on Xbox One and on 360. I have it on PC. That's where I primarily play it now. I got all the tables. I don't have an easy way to access real pinball, so because there's nobody has them around here. So I don't know. I really love pinball. I love the mechanics of it and all that stuff and all the physics, and then be able to play something that's so authentic on your computer. It's a lot of fun. I quite enjoy it, and it's all real arcade pinball tables. It's not like Pinball FX3 where they've got made up tables. They do have some real ones now from Williams because they got the license from them now. But I don't know. I really enjoy it. So, and it brought back memories because they had the Pinbot table, and I had Pinbot on the NES, which seems weird, but I don't know. I really like it. So
cool, pinball.
Dan,
number 4. It was hard. Top 5 was hard for me.
Yeah.
For example, P4, like we just mentioned, that got into the top 5. That one was all over my list, and it kept getting higher and higher. So this is where it ended up now.
I saw it slowly creeping its way
up because I just remembering how good it was. Number 4 for me ended up being Dragon Age Inquisition.
You and Cynthia, I think, are both huge fans of that.
I think it's probably Cynthia's favorite game ever.
Yeah.
Dragon Age Inquisition, and I know, so some people it was kind of to me, it was a fantastic game. I love the Dragon Age series. Inquisition wasn't quite as good as Origins was, in my opinion. Of course, that was last decade. Not the one that we're talking about. But Inquisition was a great follow-up. 2 was a bit of a misstep. Inquisition was great. It had a little bit of too much open world-itis for like not the good kind of open world, but like the shoved-in open world. But overall,
well, that was one of the first games where people were like, "Yeah, but open world, you gotta do open world, everything's open world, you gotta do it."
There was nothing wrong with the like linear, like semi, where you could choose your path. Way they did it before, I love that, but it didn't need open world. It was kind of shoehorned in.
Yep.
But there you go. Fun game.
Was that 4?
That was number 4.
I'm going to break things up, Dan.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to break things up. I'm going to go down to another thing. We're going to come back to the top
all right,
three.
For the top
come
three.
Back to the top 3. What I want to do is do our dishonorable mentions.
Okay, so we had some honorable mentions and some dishonorable mentions.
Yeah. So I'm going to start with you. Actually, no, I'm going to start with me because I have 3.
Okay.
But the first one I'm going to mention is not actually a game. It's a collection of games on a beautiful looking piece of hardware. The PlayStation Classic. Sony did everything right on the design of the console, the controllers, the console itself looks fantastic. It's like bang on. And then they put shit on it. The games were all poorly emulated. A lot of them are European ones, so they didn't even run at the right frame rate. It was the most ridiculous hodgepodge software thing I have ever seen on a console. Nintendo nailed it when they did the NES Classic and then the Super Nintendo and Super NES, or whatever they call it, Classic. I've got the PlayStation and the Super Nintendo are up there, but I made my own NES Classic because I wasn't paying $200 for one. Just how Sony could flub that so bad is really upsetting to me because the PlayStation itself was a game breaker for how good it was. It was just better in everything as far as I'm concerned than everything up to that point. There will be people who will say the 64 was better. They're wrong. But yeah, it's so sad to see something like that be done so badly when they got physically and like in the real world, the physicality of the thing is just perfect. So it's too bad, especially when Sega nailed the Genesis thing, the Genesis Classic, which is they even went so far as to put like real functioning flaps for the cartridge lid and all that, like just ridiculous. Anyway, yeah. So that's my first dishonorable thingamajig.
Dishonorable mention.
Yep.
All right, we're getting negative before we get to the top 3.
Yep.
Okay, so my dishonorable mention probably doesn't come as a surprise. Again, it ties right into the 2019 thing, disappointment, and that is just BioWare, a company that you can probably tell from the list as I mentioned them are made some of my favorite games. Really have sucked lately. So Andromeda, while not a terrible game, it was a huge letdown, and Anthem was a garbage crap.
Andromeda was a game you could have named anything.
Yeah, if it was not good. It wasn't terrible, like I said, but it wasn't.
If they had just called it Andromeda and hadn't put it in the Mass Effect universe,
it might have been okay.
But
to make a mediocre game and then tie that name to it was really disappointing. Yeah. So I'm hoping they can recover. There's another Dragon Age game coming out sometime this decade.
Supposedly there's another Mass Effect in really early development.
We'll see. They're not trending.
They have to get Dragon Age correct. I'm not even a Dragon Age fan, but if they can't,
if Dragon Age four,
I guess it'd be 4 now. Yeah,
it's called Dread Wolf Rises or something.
Sure.
If that comes out and flops, we're not talking.
We're no longer.
We're done.
We're not even.
I will have zero.
Not even in the same universe anymore.
I'm not going to buy it. Yeah. If EA still has a subscription thing, I will do that again as like my $20 trial or whatever. Yep. And then just see what happens from there. So yeah, that was my number 1.
Yeah, that was my number 1. I called it Mass Effect Crap Dromeda. So that's
you didn't even play Anthem. That was even worse.
I played it.
Oh, you did?
I didn't beat it, but I played it.
Well,
I played quite a few. I played quite a ways into it, and then I put it down. And then later on in the year, I'm like, all right, let's try it again. And then I realized, wow, this game is still shit.
You're talking about Andromeda, right?
Yeah, Andromeda.
I said Anthem. You didn't even play.
Oh,
Anthem,
sorry, no, I didn't play Anthem
because Anthem was even worse. So
I wasn't even excited about Anthem when they announced it because it just
me
like
neither.
it didn't even feel unique to me. It didn't, and they couldn't describe what the game was, and they never could.
No, so well, that's part of the problem in development. But to me, it was like it could be something like Destiny, but with a BioWare story, and I thought that would be interesting, but it was not.
No, it was just
it was garbage. Yeah. So that was the biggest thing. I'm just going to go ahead and mention my other because it's not worth talking. Yeah. My other dishonorable mention was an obvious one, was Fallout 76. I'm rather new into Bethesda games. Skyrim and Fallout 4 is basically all I've played. I enjoyed them quite a bit. 76 was just a crap show of crap. So, and everyone knows that.
Bethesda is too full of themselves, and they seem to have blinders.
They got cushy, and they released a game that they really should not have. And even from its inception, it seemed like a bad idea.
There are still people that have their own blinders on and love the game. They're
the problem with that is when they release single player games that are buggy, it's kind of it's kind of amusing in a way. When they release an online game that's buggy, that's the same amount of buggy, it's just a bad idea. Like it's just a risk, and so it's terrible. And that's all I can say, I guess.
I'm going to say Final Fantasy 15. I'm not going to go too deep into it because I think we spent like half an episode on it once before. But that was a piece of shit. All right, on to the next one. I want to do one more thing. I'm going to choose something here, just out of random. Let's do. All right, this is cool. Best strategy game. 1, 2, 3.
Okay. That's at the end there.
No, yes, I'm bouncing around.
Okay, so that was a different category though. I don't know if we.
Oh, is it?
That.
Never mind. Let's not do that.
Okay.
Let's go back to the top then. That's right. You're right. You're right about that. We are on. What are we on?
Number 3, Jeff.
Yep. All right, number 3. Persona 4 Golden. We don't have to really talk about that
because I already ranted about that.
Yes,
we've
already ranted about it. Yes,
but Persona 4 Golden. So you also cheated a little.
I don't think it's cheating.
Cheated on our no rules that we said we weren't going to cheat.
I didn't even know the game existed before. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a new game on its own.
Persona 4 Golden. Okay, Number 3 for me. And I know this probably gets a huge eye roll from you. There it is, right there. I saw it. Yeah. Stardew Valley.
I can't believe how the guys on Discord are like, it's the best game ever.
This is everyone knows probably what this is, but this is a very simple, made by one person indie game that is basically a reimagining of the good days, apparently, of Harvest Moon. Now, I never really played much Harvest Moon.
Oh, there are people who love that game, too.
But I played this game because it looked really interesting, and it was super cheap. And I have spent hundreds upon hundreds of hours in this game, loving every second of it. Incredible work by one person, first of all. Just a masterpiece of that. I don't know.
It's a little more impressive than Undertale.
You know what? I never played Undertale.
I didn't play it, but it's like, all right, everybody's praising this guy, but compare these two things. Like, one is more impressive than the other.
Was well praised too, but yeah, I really, for me, Stardew Valley blows it out of the water. Yeah. I played it for 10 minutes. Never got very far. I do intend to go back and try to figure out what everyone liked about the game because I haven't figured it out yet, but maybe I can. But for me, Stardew Valley was definitely one of my favorite of the decade. Probably has, as an individual game, not including stuff like World of Warcraft and whatnot, probably has some of the most hours I've spent in the top anyway. I've put hundreds in. It was just an amazing, chill game that I can kind of play while watching something. Yeah, great. I will say that they added in a multiplayer, and that's kind of boring.
That
I didn't like that.
That gets an even bigger eye roll from him. Like, add multiplayer to a game to me that looks like what? Yeah.
So to me, I was like, I really like this game.
Yeah.
And they put a multiplayer. I was like, oh, maybe me and Cynthia could play. But no, it was boring. So definitely to keep that single player. It's kind of a run at your own pace kind of game. So it makes sense if you have someone else there, it wouldn't work. But yeah, love it. Number 3.
Everybody says it's good. I don't get it. And that's fine.
And that's fine. Number 2, Jeff.
Number two. So this was I couldn't put this one in number one because you know what's in number one already. Forza Horizon 4
car game.
Actually, I think I like Horizon 3 technically better, but I put this one in there because that's the one I'm currently playing. This sort of just covers basically the whole Horizon series that's been released during the past decade. Horizon took the regular Forza series to a level that I really enjoyed. To me, it's like what Need for Speed should be, but Need for Speed is always too arcadey the way the cars drive, so I never really enjoy it. This has the physics of Forza with the fun and not really a storyline, but just a progression system that is fun. They almost went a little too, I don't know what you call it, socially with Horizon 4. But they keep releasing new stuff, and I keep enjoying it. So I think that's a pretty good sign of a pretty damn good game. But yeah, when Forza originally released, and I know I'm sort of going way back now, Forza released on the original Xbox. I did buy it and I played it. I'm like, this is a good game, but it's only got a few cars and it's only got a few tracks and it's locked at 30 FPS, whereas Gran Turismo was at 60 on the PS2, which is a far inferior when it comes to hardware. It's far inferior compared to the Xbox was, and I wasn't really a huge fan. But once, I don't know, Horizon nailed it for me when they released it. I think that I noticed was that Forza 2 or Forza 3 maybe after that it came out. Just it was fantastic. So great graphics, lots of fun, lots of customization doing the cars. Just really enjoy it. So I don't know what else to say other than the fact nothing I say is going to convince Dan to play it because he doesn't like racing.
Look,
games,
I'm eye rolling just as hard with the racing game as you are with my Stardew game.
There are only a few racing games to choose from anymore, but that's one of my favorites, and a lot of people probably won't actually like that because but it's not the true simulator. It's like, I don't care.
It's more fun.
It's more fun to me anyway. So, Dan.
It's number 2. Okay, it's number 2 for me. One we've already talked about actually. And that's Persona 5.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it was Persona 4, but everything was better. And it's more modern, so that obviously helps. But just, again, a game that drew me in with the time management aspect and kept me around for the JRPG despite my protests and your insistence. Fantastic. Some amazing music. Probably one of the most unique and best soundtracks of the decade.
I will say I prefer Persona 4 Golden's.
You do.
I
it was good
prefer
too.
its soundtrack. I like the music in 5, but I feel like I'm more attached to the music in 4, and it's probably because I haven't played as much of Persona 5.
Yeah.
But I still feel like I like it more. It feels more old schooly to me, but it's not to detract from.
No, that's fair.
Yep.
Yeah, so me, everything across the board is better. The storyline was incredible. I won't say anything because you still haven't played it, and I want you to play it.
Someday
when it comes out
on the Switch.
I mean, maybe they're never going to. I was hoping they would, but
gotta.
Yeah. So Persona 5, incredible game. Number 2. All right, Jeff.
All right,
it's time.
This is our penultimate games.
Your number 1 game.
Do we want to combine this because
it looks like we had a similar response.
We hit a knockout on here, although you added an extra.
Yeah, I cheated again a little bit, and even though there's no rules, I still cheated.
Technically, we both cheated on this last one because I'm not sure if you can conclude this year. Maybe you can. But regardless, we had no rules.
Okay, so ours was the same sort of.
Yes.
Number 1.
Well, I'll say mine first. Mass Effect 2.
Mass Effect 2.
So that was 2010, BioWare, EA. EA had just come in at the end of this sort of development, sort of part of the way through. Yeah. So they hadn't destroyed the game yet. And I played that originally on the Xbox 360 and then eventually on the PS4, and I played it on PC. I had it everywhere. I'm crazy. But definitely I've played more of it on PC because I can just turn it all the way up and it looks it still looks good.
Still looks pretty good, eh? I mean, it's a little
If
old,
they could release some kind of HD patch for it.
They just got to remaster.
That's all they got to do. I don't need another Mass Effect. Just do that.
If EA wants my money, they can just take.
They could print. Yeah, I'll buy it on a bunch of consoles and on the computer again.
Sure,
I'll just buy it all.
Why not?
All of it. Give me it.
So
to me, that was the best game at all 3. Mass Effect 3 is very close, but my initial interpretation of 3, the ending sucked, and I still haven't been able to get over that. And to me, it still sucks. I still don't like it. Like the ending. The game is all right. It felt a little bit like it was on autopilot though for some of Mass Effect 3. Mass Effect 2 just
it was good.
So good. So good. The graphics were such a generational leap from the original Mass Effect. The controls were so much better, except they added ammo, which was the stupidest
I really liked that because that was something that was kind of unique in the original Mass Effect, and it was something that was like it made sense within with how they explained it. Yep. And so adding the thermal clips as ammo was stupid.
Well, it took the game backward for me. Yeah. It's like, why are we adding ammo?
I think it was just dumb. To me, I also had the same thing, but reversed. For me, 1A was Mass Effect 3, and 1B was Mass Effect 2.
Yeah, you're wrong, but that's okay.
Well, no. To me, I understand people saying that the ending of Mass Effect 3 sucked. Initially, it kind of did. Initially, it really did. They added in the extended cut, which I thought was a pretty adequate job of ending. It kind of gave you the recap of kind of what happened, and it wasn't great. It was okay. But the part that really puts 3 at number 1 for me as my favorite game of all time, honestly, pretty much, would be the roller coaster getting to the end of all these characters.
There was a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah,
it did that better than Mass Effect 2.
With all these characters that you've come to know and love over the previous 2 games, with this whole world that was built, and a world that was incredibly fleshed out to the point that very few people bother doing, like that old BioWare did with the old Mass Effect, Dragon Age, even Knights of the Old Republic back in the day of the Star Wars. That it's a lost art in some ways. Now, some companies still do it, but in a lot of like mainstream stuff, it seems to be a lost art. Just this world that was built.
That is if I may say really quick, that's something I wish they'd do with Overwatch.
It would be making.
I would love something that would flesh that whole thing out. Except instead, they just keep making junk.
They made a weird sequel, but anyway, the point, Mass Effect 3, like just the emotional roller coaster, like how it ended and how it was working, was awesome. Granted, the very end, I didn't know how they were going to tie it together. They didn't do a great job. I agree that wasn't great.
Well, but to me, it's like you went all the way up to the end, and then they're like, I don't know how to end this game, so we're just going to do this. And it's just like...
But up to that point was just the best video game play and storytelling I think I've ever seen. It was incredible. And even that bad ending didn't bring me down enough to say it was worse than... Or say 2 was better. Granted, 2 was awesome. It had less flaws... But it also wasn't quite as good, so I think it made up for it.
The third one got the Citadel DLC, correct?
Yes, the Citadel DLC was awesome.
That's the only thing that makes them very close together for me.
That was great.
If that never came out, then it would be like it wouldn't be worse than Mass Effect 1, but it wouldn't be close to Mass Effect 2 for me. It's just that Citadel thing almost made the game.
Mass Effect 1 was also really good. It wasn't part of this decade, which is good because I would have had a hard time placing it, but it was also amazing. Anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm sure that, again, anyone that's listened to this podcast, that comes no surprise because we complain and or praise Mass Effect till, forever. So, yeah, probably the least climactic number 1 reveal. Probably everyone knew that was coming. But anyway, if you didn't, it's Mass Effect.
Honorable mentions. We'll go through these quick because we have lots of stuff we want to cover, and I do want to do those ones that we have at the end there. So.
That was the extra content.
Yeah, I want to do the extra content still. So we're gonna do our honorable mentions of the 2010s. Start with Dan.
All right, you might just rip through them all.
Yeah, this is rip through them.
Okay, honorable mentions.
If you have something special,
that didn't make the list, but I wanted to mention them anyways because of specific reasons, which I put here. Number 1 for me, I want to mention Dragon Age 2, and the reason I put this on is not because it's an incredible game. I put it on because nobody liked it. And I did.
Yeah, there were a lot of people that did, and they were like, "What is this?"
It wasn't. Again, it wouldn't sniff a top 10 list, but I wanted to mention it just because I thought it was interesting that everyone thought it was crap, and I actually enjoyed it. And it was kind of crap, but also you have to play as the sarcastic version of the main character because that's hilarious. Number 2 honorable mention for me, best mobile game ever in my opinion. It's just like the only one I've ever played.
You don't even play mobile,
and I don't play it mobile. Yeah. But I have, it's probably also the only one I've ever played. but I put like 400 hours in, was Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links.
Yes, I also have that on mine.
You mentioned that.
Right now, yeah.
Number 3 was StarCraft 2, which I put on here because it was really good, and it was like one of the last few things that's keeping RTS games alive. So last bastion of a great era that I loved as a kid.
Yep.
And it was really good. Next one is Frostpunk. And this is a game that when it came out, I really liked, and it just keeps getting better for me. It's also one of the few games in the survival era or like genre that I really enjoy. It's a city builder survival, so it's a little different than your normal survival game. But yeah, it keeps getting better. There's a new expansion coming out end of this month, which I'm really looking forward to. Awesome game. And it almost made the list, which surprised me because on my like 2018 list, I think it was not. It was like mid, and it keeps crawling up. So Frostpunk. Another one I want to mention that didn't really have a specific instance for me, but just overall, was World of Warcraft.
Mine, I have that as well. Yeah.
World of Warcraft had a few missteps and expansions, but they keeps bringing me back in.
Miss Pandaria, and a lot of people didn't like Pandaria. I loved it because it introduced a fat panda that made me feel like I can play a fat guy. But also, I love the Asian aesthetic, and also Battle. Sorry, I'm sort of taking over here.
No, yeah.
And then Battle for Azeroth. I think that was a fantastic expansion.
Yeah.
Except for you get to a point, it's like, all right, what do I do now? But
Endgame
that
was
happens all the time.
It fell off a bit at Endgame.
Yeah.
But like
the
level up
storyline
was
all the way
awesome.
through,
Leveling up was
so
great.
good. Yeah.
So World of Warcraft keeps coming, even though that would have made my top 10 of the 2000s list. But yeah, it keeps coming back, and they came out with a classic again.
Well,
year,
and again,
so.
that would have been 11 for me. It just ended up getting bumped off the list because I forgot about Life is Strange. That's the one I put in there.
The next one for me was Ori and the Blind Forest.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you technically count that indie because it's a small studio, but it's under Microsoft's regime. So
was it then too when it launched?
I believe so.
Yeah. Okay.
I just want to mention that one because it's it's got to be the prettiest graphics I've ever seen in anything ever.
Oh,
it's
I would agree.
gorgeous. Yep. The art style is amazing, and the gameplay was actually great. And I'm not even a huge fan of platformer.
Is it sort of like
Metroidvania.
a roguelike, but not
no,
super...
It's
I'm not sure how to.
It's more. It's like the Metroidvania style where you have to like get upgrades and go to different areas.
Yeah, all right.
But
that's
the way they do. To me, it was rather difficult. I'm not very good at platformers, but one of the things that made it awesome was how they actually built saves in as a mechanic, as a mechanic in the game. So you have to use energy. You get this energy built up, but you can use it to set a save point. Mm-hmm. So when you die, like you get to a specifically hard area, you respawn immediately at that spot. So that makes it's hard, but it makes it easy to try again really quickly, which I really appreciate, especially in contrast to the Souls style game, which again I'm not a fan of, where it's like it's hard and then everything respawns if you heal and anyway. Yep. I just don't like the repetitive nature of doing that. If I'm gonna try again, I like it quick because it keeps me interested in that challenge. I
had gotten to a point in that game. I really liked it up to a point, and then. I was supposed to go further at some point, and I kept going back and forth from one side of the map that had unlocked to the other side of the map. I'm looking everywhere.
Yeah.
Where do I go? Like, I don't know. So then I stopped playing. But it was up to the point of what I had. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. So.
The next one up for me is King's Quest. Now, this was an episodic kind of tribute to old classic games. So it really tugged at the heartstrings for me. Back to the old games I used to love playing, like the point and click stuff, King's Quest, Quest for Glory, the old Sierra stuff, which I adore. And this game was an excellent modern, like episodic adaptation of that, and it had a lot of callbacks. Just a really interesting story. Gameplay faltered in some spots. Like the first episode was easily the best, but overall, just like an emotional, awesome tribute to games I used to love. So I'll get King's Quest. And the last one for me. Was The Long Dark. And the reason I put this one on the list was because it was a survival game that actually had me interested, and a pure survival game that actually had me interested. So I'd like to give that one a little mention. What do you got, Jeff?
Okay.
Honorable mentions.
What did you... Yeah. Okay. All right. American Truck Simulator.
I'm surprised this one didn't make your list of the sheer amount of time you've put into playing this game that you love so much.
I couldn't put it on the top 10 because... It's pretty repetitive. I enjoy it, but I feel like it's a pretty specific thing for a lot of people. I don't know. I wasn't doing the list to please other people, but I don't know if it deserved to be up there. I don't think the graphics are particularly that impressive. They're good. They're very good. The physics aren't great. And they updated the engine and made it worse, in my opinion. But I have a lot of time in it. And it's weird because I'm a truck driver in real life. So it's weird to come home and then fake drive. But it's got all the stuff I like about driving, and all the crap I don't like is not in it. Mm-hmm. So I enjoy that bit. So anyway, that came out in 2016, and they have kept up with the game. They keep adding on more states to it, so it's they keep it fresh in that way. So I should have deleted that one because I ended up adding that to the list. So we'll just delete that. World of Warships, we're back playing that again.
That's a good one to mention because that's kind of our multiplayer game of the decade for between the two of us playing.
A lot of fun, except for they made carriers way too good now because they haven't let you play it.
There's always some
that's
flaws.
Bullshit. But other than that, for the most part, there is some balancing issues when you're in game sometimes, like putting tier 6s with tier 8s and 9s in the battle. When you can't see a ship that's shooting at you and zeroing you, like destroying you from like across the map.
Mismatch.
Not a lot of fun. Diablo 3, just recently started playing that. Me and Kevin are playing that on PS4. That's a lot of fun. And I understand it was not like it is now when it was released. So I'm glad I'm playing it now because I'm enjoying the crap out of it. Not necessarily paying attention to the story, mind you. I'm just going through and like they start talking. I'm like, shut up, I want to go kill things. So... and it's pretty easy to get into and out of pretty quick. So I quite like that quite a bit. I had forgotten about this. I was going through my list in Steam and just looking for interesting games that weren't just the obvious things. Soma. I played all the way through that. Mm-hmm. And it's a horror game, but it's like so different. Like I'd never played anything quite like it before. You start off in Toronto, which is awesome. Although I have other feelings about Toronto in reality too, but it's cool to see it in a game. And just you start in that spot, and then after that you wake up and it's like, what the hell happened? So good. If you haven't played it, you should try it. It is a scary game, but it's not super scary. It's more of a mystery with a little bit of like jump scary stuff.
I actually own the game. Part of a Humble Bundle at some point, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I consider playing it, but like, it's not so much that it's scary. It's just that the horror in general is not, as a medium, something I enjoy. So I decided not to play it.
Yep.
But
there are some choices you have to make that you have to make. It's not really a choice because if you don't do it, you can't progress. Mm. But there are some things you have to do, and you're kind of like, I don't really want to do that. But overall, I really liked it. And then the other ones, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, World of Warcraft, we did that. If I may say for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, they've made it better and worse at the same time recently. It used to be the old school cards, just faster way of dueling. Now it's become, you got a special summon everything.
Like any card game, as it ages, I find it gets less fun.
So
that's true of any
I don't think that's true about Magic. Magic, I think, has maintained a very consistent
I've never played Magic.
Play.
So.
Well, I haven't played it all throughout the years either, but the idea I get, like, I guess Kevin played it. I didn't know that. It's remained relatively consistent. So, yeah. Okay. Worst trends of the 2010s.
Worst trends of the 2010s.
Mm-hmm.
I put in here, I made sure to put besides loot boxes, because like loot boxes, microtransactions, that's kind of sucked, and everyone knows it. We've complained about that before. So,
yeah.
Anyway, for me, and this is probably, again, like I mentioned the whole time, my dislike for, in general, for Dark Souls games, is that everything seems to want to go Souls-like these days.
Yep.
And that's not something I enjoy. I understand a lot of people do, so I don't blame them.
I don't understand why they do. They're dumb.
I don't understand why they do, but I understand that they do. So the fact that they want to put more Souls-like stuff into everything, to me, not everything has to have a Dark Souls element. I don't understand why they're good mechanics.
I don't understand why people want to be punished for playing their game.
Some people enjoy that, the challenge, and whatever.
They're wrong. That's okay.
But for me, like putting in the mechanics, like if you die, you have to get back to your body to get whatever resources you had, or if you heal up, everything respawns in the same place, which is, I guess it works for Dark Souls. But for example, when we're talking about Star Wars, that doesn't make sense at all to me. Why stormtroopers respawn in the same place? Like it takes me out. And it ticks me off a little because it gets very repetitive to get back to the same spot that you're having trouble with.
Yep.
And so I don't like that personally. And not everything has to have a Souls-like thing to it. So anyway, that's just my worst trend personally. What about you, Jeff? What do you got?
Sequels.
What does that mean?
Everything's a sequel. Every game has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
No new IPs.
Yeah,
very few
there's
IPs.
Nobody has. There have been some incredible, unique games released.
Yeah,
but they never get the attention that sequels do. Like we've had how many Call of Duties now? Now they've even given up on numbers. They're now back to renaming their games the names they had already. Like Modern Warfare, like that was already a game, but now it's a game again.
Now it's a game again.
I would like to see more unique stuff. We need to, and this is a problem in the movie industry as well. I like the Marvel stuff, but it's all just the same thing.
It's getting played out. To me, it seems like very much the game industry is driven at this point by indies, and as indies get more popular, they get bought up and they get bigger. Yeah, you're right though. Like a lot of AAA companies are scared of new IPs or something. Like it's strange in some cases. Not scared, but like. They seem much more reluctant to do that.
Investors are scared.
Maybe it's investors. Yeah, I don't know.
That is the problem. I'm going to leave anticipated game for the end because I think we should leave on that.
Okay, that was the end originally.
Well, it was the end. That's a good point. Let's do the other bit here.
Okay, so what I had originally put in is just an extra thing if we need more time, which we actually don't, but we kind of want to do it.
But
anyways.
I want to do it. I think
was some surprise bonus content.
Yep.
We're talking all
surprise.
Time. So what I did this time, we're moving from decade to all time. We're going to do it by category. Yep. So first up, I'm going to throw it to you again, Jeff. Best RPG of all time. Throw it in there. What do you got?
So I couldn't narrow it down to one. There are too many good RPGs. They're all JRPGs though. Yeah.
So sorry again to qualify this. For me, I didn't specify what type of RPG. To Jeff, it doesn't matter because it's all JRPGs because it's his favorite thing. But for me,
I like some other RPGs, but these are the ones that
really. So anyway,
continue.
What do you got? Best ones.
Chrono Cross, Xenosaga. If you haven't played the Xenosaga Saga, it's only been released on the PS2, and recently they actually announced that they did some research into the market on that to see if they would do an HD remaster, and apparently it didn't pass muster, so which sucks because I think they asked all the wrong people. But I really liked Xenosaga, especially the first one. The battle system was incredible. The story was really interesting, dragged on a little bit, but I really liked it. It was more of a movie than it was a game because there's so many cutscenes, and all three of them were like that. There's so much story to tell. They never like. The guy had a huge story. Like he wanted it to be so many games. He wanted to just sort of keep going. But he never got to that, so he ended up having to compress so much of it that the last couple of games, they felt like you weren't getting the whole thing out of it. But anyway, Xenosaga. Final Fantasy 14, you should say A Realm Reborn there, but that's what I mean. Fantastic MMORPG, again, JRPG stuff. Final Fantasy 10 was my favorite, most sort of modern RPG, because pretty much everything after that, to me, sucked from Final Fantasy.
Ouch.
Yep, you heard me. But my favorite RPG of all time is Phantasy Star 4. And if you haven't played it, you're wrong, so go play it.
Phantasy Star 4. Okay. Yep. So the real answer is, of course, Phantasy Star 4. But
that's the best answer, yeah.
So what I ended up doing was I ended up putting in a bunch of subcategories because I realized that there's subcategories. So I also cheated on this one. Not good look right off the bat. Yep. For me, and it's probably no surprise, we've talked about a lot of this stuff, best JRPG, Persona 5. Best action RPG, Mass Effect, because it's kind of an RPG, Mass Effect. It's a hybrid, but anyway.
Yeah, no, I think it counts.
World of Warcraft is my favorite MMORPG, like I mentioned. And probably the only new one to the list, my favorite CRPG, since we probably didn't play many CRPGs, because that would have been involved having a computer.
You tell me what that means all the time. I don't even know what it means.
It's a computer RPG. Usually it's isometric, top-down kind of style of the
have I even played one?
Of the early PC RPGs. And for me, that was the old school Dark Sun Shattered Lands, which was an awesome game back in the day. So now it gets a little more streamlined and a little more interesting. I think.
It was so hard. I played
a bunch
so many RPGs. It's hard to.
Best fighting game ever, Jeff. What do you got?
It's tied between Soul Calibur 2 and 4. 2, I think, was the most optimized one to fight with. It had the best moves. Once you get to 3 and 4, they sort of changed some of the moves that some of the characters do, and it wasn't as good. But 4 had Yoda in it. And that was crazy because you play Yoda and you just win because he's like all over the place. So it was pretty good. And just to say this, Soul Calibur, is it 6 or 7 that's now out? I have it on PC anyway. It's pretty good. They went back to the roots, and it doesn't suck like the previous one did. So
there you go.
Yep.
For me, the best fighting game, and the only one that ever mattered, ever.
Well, you're wrong about that. That's okay.
Is the old game One Must Fall 2097. Fantastic fighting game back in the day.
I know what that is.
Oh, it was so good. You got to play it. It was made by Epic Games back when they were like good. Now they're like the giant evil of evilness. But anyway, One Must Fall. Great game.
Wow, that's not even the first thing that comes up when you're searching for some kind of stupid thing. All right.
You got to play it.
Okay.
It'll require a DOS box probably, but you got to play
it. It's like 2D something.
Oh, yeah. Awesome game.
Okay.
Okay, so best platformer.
Mm-hmm.
Your go.
Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Sonic the Hedgehog 2. We knew that was coming.
Yeah.
Surprising.
Yeah.
And for me, Ori and the Blind Forest.
If I may say, Super Mario Bros. 3 is pretty good too, but Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is.
If Ori and the Blind Forest counts as a pure platformer because it's kind of a Metroidvania, but
anyway,
it's sort of a platform.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You're jumping on platforms. It's good.
There's platforms.
I don't know that.
We were just interrupted
Thank
by
you.
our Amazon device.
Appreciate that.
Thanks, Amazon.
Yeah.
Best strategy game of all time. I see we agreed on this one.
Haven't played a lot of them.
Yeah. You played the best one.
I was going to say the original, I was going to say Command & Conquer Red Alert 2.
Oh, those are good games.
But I didn't play it as much as this one, which is Warcraft 3.
Warcraft 3.
Frozen Throne specifically. I think that's what it's called. Is that what it's called?
The expansion,
I get that mixed up with the icy expansion for whatever it's called, World of Warcraft. Anyway, of course, I didn't really play the actual game very much. Played a lot of online with you.
Yeah, that's still a strategy game.
Yeah, and had a lot of fun with that. But yeah, I didn't really get into the lore stuff.
That's part of the game.
Playing skirmishes and online was like
the campaign was incredible. The game itself was incredible, and adding all that extra content from how you can make custom maps online, also incredible. Yep. Almost the best part of the game.
The beginning of Dota.
The next one I got Best Adventure, but I see that was a confusing topic. So maybe
I didn't know what to say about it.
We should probably skip that one.
They're both bad. The other one I just have Blarg written. So.
Yeah, and a Best Survival Game.
I was going to write Conan the Barbarian because that's the only survival game I think I've ever played. And it was terrible.
So we'll skip survival since we didn't like those.
Let's do adventure because it's hilarious.
Okay,
it's stupid. Because they had. I would love to put that game in summer. In fact, I should have put it.
When I meant adventure, I meant old school point and click style, just adventure games.
Oh well, I never played hardly any.
And to me, that was
the only thing I
ever
ever Quest.
Was it
King's Quest 4?
4.
Yeah, I think I played that, but I barely played it. So.
King's Quest games are awesome. Quest for Glory was the best for me, but that was an adventure with a little bit of RPG elements in it. But anyway,
yep. So I went. I was like, nope, don't have any idea. So I put Starfleet Command 3 because
you want to get on the list somewhere.
We need that game. So
you probably would have better off saying something like Bridge Commander is better as an adventure game than anything else. But anyway,
you like Bridge Commander more than I do.
That's more adventure than Starfleet Command 3.
Yes, it is. I agree, but I wanted that on there. So, okay, let's finish it up with the most anticipated game for 2020.
Well, I was going to put, for this one, I originally had put a game of the 2020s. So it could be something that releases next year or the year after. Anything that's announced.
Oh, sure. I don't know. None of them matter.
It wouldn't have changed.
For the one I got, yeah.
So, what do you got, Jeff?
Okay, Final Fantasy VII remake. I hate the name. It should be just called Final Fantasy VII. But
yeah.
I've had that pre-ordered since the announcement, and I pre-ordered the expensive one.
I remember getting a text of very many swear words. From
I was so excited. So excited. And they've only made it better because they've been listening to what new people want and what old school players want. They brought back the active battle system. So for us old school players, there's a menu-driven battle system now. So that was a big concern for a lot of us that were going to be going back into the game because I don't need another action RPG. 15 sucked, and I didn't want to play 15 again. Just putting a Final Fantasy VII skin on that, I don't want to play that. So that they went ahead and listened to us. So I should also say, I don't think that these companies should be listening to us when they're developing games. I think they should develop a game that they want to develop, and it sucks, then that's the way it is.
Yeah.
But
the fact that they did
when it comes to something like this,
with the nostalgia behind it,
I think they got to do this because they don't want to piss off everyone that played the game beforehand.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they're going the right direction. And I'm also going to have a cloud and a motorcycle on my desk.
Because Collector's Edition went out.
So, yes. That's what
I will say, again, as a JRPG skeptic, I think is the best way to say it, this game looks really good, Final Fantasy VII. I know you've raved. I've heard so many people rave about Final Fantasy VII back in the day.
Okay, so
I've never played it.
Can I also say?
Yes.
I think that's overrated. Because 7 is good. I think a lot of people see it with nostalgia eyes because it's the first thing that sort of went into the 3D era.
Could be.
It was the first game I played that I couldn't put it down, though. Like, it's literally the first thing. We got a PlayStation from our cousins, but we didn't have a memory card yet. So we couldn't turn the PlayStation off. I played it for almost 36 hours straight. And I didn't even get through what would be now I know, which would be about 8 hours of the game.
Oh.
So
because you're like messing around with it.
So I had a ton of fun with that game, but I think people see it with a little bit of blinders on. So
okay,
because it has major flaws.
I've heard about the ranting and raving about it and how awesome it is. I don't know the story. I'm trying to keep myself spoiler free, although I have a few that are obviously legendary. Everyone knows, but I just want to play it for the first time in the remake mode. And just to see how good it is. I'm actually pretty excited to see it. I will probably play it in the as classic a mode as possible. Because, again, Final Fantasy 15, I played a little bit of that, and it bored me to tears. So I don't want to play that. So I want to play this, see how it goes. I'm sure I'll get commentary from the people that have played it, like such as yourself and Cynthia, just to say, like, how authentic it is and how good it is.
I'll know pretty quick whether I like it or not.
So
like, I'll get into it, and I'll know.
I'm excited to try it. I probably will wait for a bit, because I currently don't have a PS4. And I might try to borrow your copy at some point rather than invest money in it. But we'll see. I could really like it. It looks really good. For me, most anticipated game coming up. I was actually originally I'd put.
You'll have to get a PS4 for this.
I know. Well, PS4, PS5, possibly if it's backwards compatible, which I think it's supposed to be. So
it's supposed to be, but
again,
no official word.
We're running into the hardware issues. So when I sold my PS4 Pro and ended up buying a Switch, I don't regret having a Switch because the Switch is awesome. I do regret the lack of a PS4 because a lot of really good games came out for the PS4. But anyway, and they still are coming out. Yep. But anyway, for me, I originally put Cyberpunk, but that's like everyone's excited for that. I'm becoming less excited for that just because of it's, again, a first-person shooty kind of game. I still think it's going to be really good, and I'm still looking forward to it like a lot. But
when they went ahead and said even cutscenes are first-person, no interest. Zero. I have absolutely zero interest for the game. So a cutscene is supposed to be a cinematic thing to me.
Yeah. The first, and I know
you can't see your character. What's the point?
A lot of people like first person. For me, I'm not a fan of video games first person, and that is a huge knock against it for me. I'm still excited to play it. I have pre-ordered it. I'm going to play it because I don't usually pre-order anything because I'm very much against it, and I have said so on this podcast just because if there's no benefit to it, then why would I do it? In this case, I did it because I just wanted to play it, and I wanted to give some money to CDPR because I really liked them. So
I should have put pre-orders
through GOG. Pre-orders, yeah.
Worst trend of 2010: pre-orders.
Yeah, that's a good thing too. But so instead of doing that, I actually put in one that is a weird one because it's one I've already played, but I want to play the new version, and that's Persona 5 Royal.
Looks like they've added a lot of good content.
Looks like they added a lot of good stuff, and I'm really excited to play it again. So again, my most anticipated game of the 2020s is again kind of looking back. But I didn't want to put that in for that very reason. I didn't want to put it in because I already played this. But if I'm being 100% honest with myself, it's the game I'm looking forward to the most. Yeah. So I'm going to need to either buy a used PS4 or something until the PS5 comes out or just wait.
Well, I
and buy
totally
the PS5,
forgotten about
so.
Persona 5. The only game I have room for in my head right now that's coming out this year is literally Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm thinking about. I can't even think of anything else right now. Like there's no like it's not that I'm dwelling on Final Fantasy VII. I literally can't think of another game I'm even interested in. I have nothing in mind.
You got like Pilot's Vision on
well, it's not that even. It's just
that's the only thing.
there's nothing else that's even interesting to me. It's just
we're kind of we are in the point right now where we're transitioning this year console generation. So that's typically a rather dead zone for games. So we're kind of in the dead zone. I will say everything of interest seems to be coming out in the next 3 to 4 months. Like any big name,
I can't even name anything. I can
just
only
coming
name
out. Cyberpunk,
I can name those two. Cyberpunk,
Final Fantasy. There's like the new Wasteland game people are interested in.
I don't even know what that is.
I was gonna say there's a new Vampire Masquerade game. People love that. I think
what
got
that
delayed
is.
though. I could be wrong.
Sure.
There's a new Ori game coming out, which I'm pretty interested in. I know you didn't really care that much, but
okay. No, I like Ori. It's not like a.
So that's coming out soon. Warcraft 3 Reforged, a remaster, coming out this month. Kind of.
It's actually coming finally. I didn't even see. I'd forgotten
for the end of the month. I'd be really interested to play that.
Command & Conquer's coming, Dan. Eventually.
Yeah, remastered.
The remastered thing
Probably
looks
play that
terrible though. Like the game is probably fine, but it looks like the graphics.
Well, they kept the graphics. Remastered is a rough.
Well, hardly
it's slightly remastered.
Yeah.
But yeah. So if I'm being honest with myself, Final Fantasy, Persona 5,
there it is.
Royal.
There it is.
I think that's all we got. We rambled a lot.
Rambled a lot.
Talked about.
We covered everything though. We got it all. We got it all there.
My voice is raw. From
my voice is as well. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here, Dan, as usual. Doing this thingamajig.
I'm always up to talk about some games.
And yeah, it's been fun to do this here today. If you want to check us out, website, you can get the podcast anywhere. You already know that because you're listening. I do try to upload them to YouTube as well if you want to listen to them that way. I think it's weird, but hey, if you like it, go for it. Not that I'm judging you. Yeah, that's it. That's it for the podcast.
Awesome.
So I should probably do this because
bring up the outro music. You know,
so bring up the music. Look at that. We paid for this. We own the license for it.
Well, we got to use it then.
Yep, we paid for this. Yeah. Kevin MacLeod.
Good guy.
Yeah. So.
Welcome to 2020, everyone.
Yes.
Hopefully, you can play some good games this year.
Play some good games. Buy some good tech.
Have fun.
Ignore NVIDIA. Buy AMD.
Hey. NVIDIA's coming out with stuff this year, maybe.
Who cares? Who cares?
So is Intel.
Intel.
We'll talk about that next time.
That's right. Thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll talk to you next time.